covering the community, events, and people of Georgia, Carolina. This is the Means Report. Here is Brad Means.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Means Report. Thank you for spending part of your Sunday with us. We really appreciate it. Hopefully, we're getting a break from all the wind. I know that March is supposed to come in like a lion, but it just roared in, did it not? Hopefully, things are settling down a little bit and you're getting all your pre-Masters activities taken care of as we really get closer and closer to springtime. The year is flying by. Another year that's flying by is the year that is Symphony Orchestra Augusta. Their season, it seems, just started, and already we just have a couple of concerts left. This broadcast will air just days after the tribute to Michael Jackson, the music of Michael Jackson performed by SOA, and I know that that was a beautiful, beautiful event, as are all of the efforts of our Symphony Orchestra Augusta. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're also going to talk a little bit later in the program to a representative from Mercy Ministries. They are doing some very important work now, and I want you to find out more about them and also find out how you can help them out on this Sunday and beyond. But first, we're going to kick it off with the face of Symphony Orchestra Augusta. It is Maestro Z. You know what? I told myself I was going to try to say your full name, and I'm just going to stick with Z from now on, because every time I think I'm going to say it, I get scared. So Z, thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having me here.
You're welcome, but it would be like Shizuo Kuwahara.
That's right.
Okay, but we call you Z.
Yes.
All right, good. I'm glad you're here, and thank you, by the way, for letting me do your job a couple of months ago.
Oh, yes. That was lots of fun.
That was a lot of fun.
Yes.
And I hope I didn't embarrass you too much.
No, I thought you did great, and the orchestra enjoyed it. I don't think that what you said was true at all. You did great.
You're a good man. You're a good man. I appreciate it. Well, we are entering a busy end of the year for SOA, especially when it comes to some upcoming concerts. Deceptive Reality is going to be first on the calendar. That is coming up St. Patrick's Day night. Tell me about this and what concert goers can expect that night with Deceptive Reality.
Well, this season we've been exploring music about love and death, and we call this season Rise to the Edge. What it is it's a philosophy that came from inspiration of Arthur Schopenhauer. What it is basically thinking about the will of human being. So how do people love something, and what does it mean? If love means something to people, what's the other end of it? And I define that as death, because when there is something that's end to it, there's a limit to it. Something important becomes more important to you. So this concert is showing about the love part of it, composed by the Chinese composer and the English composer.
So can people expect sort of would you say the mood that evening will be a dark mood, and you can expect that type of music? What might the audience feel?
Well, this will be interesting for me too, because I like to see what audience feels.
Yeah.
This will be first time I'm conducting both of these pieces in Tan Dun's Chinese composer music. This is violin concerto. It's titled The Love. It shows different aspects of love. He explains that the very beginning is young love, and then the second movement he defines as middle-aged love. And then at the end, the third movement, he calls it the philosophy of love. So, but in context of Chinese culture, and the sound that he creates is nothing like you've ever heard before. You're going to hear lots of Chinese instruments, and it's a different feel of love than you might expect.
I know that when we did our Brad Does My Job story together, one of the things we talked about was that a lot of times your musicians will get this music not a long time before the actual concert, maybe just a few days or so.
2-3 weeks before they get the music.
2-3 weeks. Do they get intimidated with something like this, something with that sounds complicated, quite frankly, and it sounds like it will be a challenge to play? Is there almost some anxiety at first?
I hope not. They're professional musicians, but there is some difficulty level in different repertoire.
Right.
And this particular concert is definitely a difficult concert, mainly because Tan Dun uses writings that regular musicians are not used to reading. And some of the symbols that they have to be reading is not in a Western language. So they'll have to figure out how to play their instrument in a Chinese way, which is something that they have to experiment and then be ready for the first rehearsal, which is 2 days before the concert.
Have you always admired Tan Dun's work? Is this someone whose music you've always wanted to present to an audience?
I first heard music of Tan Dun when I was in college, and that was a string quartet with a pipa. That's Chinese instrument, and that it is called ghost opera. And ghost opera is what it is it's a funeral ceremony, and it's a very celebratory ceremony, but he uses the art elements to the music. He uses water, he uses paper, he uses stone, and he uses that with the quartet, which means they have to learn how to play these other stuff,
right?
Which is not an instrument really, but basically he wants to get the sound of that Eastern sound and match that with music that is Western instrument. And also in the music there's a collaboration of Bach and all of these different Shakespeare. Everything is all intertwined, and that was so interesting to me. For me, because I'm originally Japanese, coming from Asian culture, trying to work with Western music, and that's, to me, is mind-boggling. How can I convince to make Western music reasonable?
Right.
But I think that's where I was interested in experimenting with music of Tan Dun, is that combination of those two cultures.
All right, so can concert goers that night expect primarily violin music? Is that going to be the focal point the whole night?
It's going to be, the first half is going to be violin solo, which is played by Micah Gangwer, who's the associate concertmaster of our orchestra, with the full orchestra backing.
Now,
So
is he, forgive me, is he the one with the beard?
that's right.
Oh, that guy's great.
He's fantastic,
He is
isn't
so
he?
good.
Yes.
Okay, so that's going to be the focal point of the first half.
First half, that's
All
right.
And then what?
Then the second half is just going to be full orchestra, and one might expect, if you're used to listening to Beethoven or Brahms or Mahler, that's the kind of setup we're going to have. And the music is extraordinary. It's William Walton's First Symphony.
Yeah.
And also, it is somehow connected with love, because when he was writing this First Symphony, now, writing First Symphony for any composer is a big deal, but he was going through a very bitter relationship with his girlfriend at the time. And basically what happened was this girlfriend cheated on him.
Yeah.
And eventually she left him. But during this turmoil emotionally, he was writing this symphony, and you can hear that in the sound, this dramatic emotions and painful things. And at some point, he entitles his movement, second and third movement, malicious. He said maliciousness in the sound.
She hurt him so badly that you can almost feel that pain.
That's right. And in fact, after he wrote the 3 movements of the symphony out of 4, he just stopped writing for about 3 or 4 years because he just couldn't go on with it.
Wow.
It was very, very painful for him.
That is going to be a powerful night for sure, but that is just one of the upcoming concerts that a lot of people are looking forward to. You also have Dramatic Voices coming up with Symphony Orchestra Augusta, where you're going to have a guest soloist come in. Please tell us about that concert. I know that we're getting a few weeks ahead of ourselves, but I want to let people know what's coming up on the calendar.
Well, in April, we're going to feature our soprano singer LaQuita Mitchell. I said our because she's from Augusta.
Yeah.
And she's been singing all over the place. She has recently been featured in New York City Opera, and also she's been singing in San Francisco Opera. She's been featured in many, many different places. Now we get to feature her in our own orchestra as well.
Boy, it's going to be wonderful.
Fantastic.
Pops Under the Stars is coming up, and if you're used to Pops Under the Stars, University Hospital does a wonderful job putting that on every year, along with Symphony Orchestra Augusta, and we always gather at this grand field beside the university campus in Evans. It's going to move a little bit down the road this year. Tell me about that.
Well, we're going to be playing in Lady Antebellum Amphitheater for the first time.
Man.
And we're very excited about this. It's always been a great event, but just to have the big stage and be able to have lots of space for our audience to enjoy, bring in their food and drinks, and if you don't have it, there's going to be vendors out there that you can enjoy popcorns and other drinks, and it's going to be a lot of fun and exciting event for everybody.
It is, and that's coming up in May. It's such a wonderful way to cap off the the Symphony Orchestra Augusta's year. Maestro, I want to give people a feel for what you're doing when you're not at First Baptist Church or out in Evans. You're not in schools. You're not, when we don't see you here. Give us an idea of your schedule. For instance, when this broadcast airs, you'll be wrapping up some work in Baltimore.
That's right.
Tell me what you're doing up there.
Well, in Baltimore, I am working closely with them, conducting family concerts there and all other sorts of concerts. In past, I conducted a tour with Linda Ronstadt, an American tour, and so we went all over East Coast and West Coast with them.
Did you really?
It was lots of fun.
That's great.
Yeah.
Is she nice?
She was fantastic.
Now, also, you recently conducted in Nice, France.
That's right.
Why were you there, and how did that go?
That was part of the summer festival that they had, and it was a beautiful scene in the outdoor, and they always have this concert once a year, and that's where I conducted the Rachmaninoff Third Piano Concerto with a fantastic pianist, Pascal Godard, who's a French pianist but played Rachmaninoff like he's Russian.
Wow.
That's an amazing, amazing concert.
How do you like Augusta? I was so pleased to hear that you had agreed to sign a new contract that keeps you in Augusta at least through the 2015 season. How do you like this town? Do you feel settled in now?
Settled in, or maybe more engaged. I feel that there's so much things to do here that I want to be part of. And there are so many great projects in Augusta. And I said first, when I came here, there are potential in Augusta. And look at this studio. This is a great studio you have here.
See, this is an example. You're right. When Maestro came to town, you did talk about the potential of Augusta. And that was in our old studio, which had been in service for half a century. And you're right. The potential realized right here. And you see growth and improvements all over this area.
That's right. And I only see the better thing for Augusta. And, you know, but in order to make it better, we really have to think through and work hard to make it happen. And together with all of the people in Augusta, you know, I always find that issues that we have to deal with, I can really try to have them shown in our programs. And, you know, for us to have a place for people to come together and have this kind of discussion that stimulates that kind of energy and motivation to make this city better. And I want to be part of it.
What do you see in the future for the Miller Theater? Do you see that, as we all hope it will, becoming the home of Symphony Orchestra Augusta?
Yes, but not only home for Symphony Orchestra Augusta, but so many arts groups will be in that theater. And also, you know, we're going to be presenting so many concerts there that I just cannot hide my excitement about having the new theater there.
Oh, man.
And, you know, along with that, there's going to be educational component to it that Augusta has never had before. And that, when we launch that new education program, along with orchestra and other kinds of music genre, that will be so exciting and something that we really needed to have in Augusta.
I agree. It's going to be amazing. Well, I can't let your visit end without mentioning that the airing of this broadcast, March 11th, is the 1-year anniversary of the earthquake and tsunami in your homeland of Japan. You were very involved with doing some public service announcements, been taking part in fundraisers right after that tragedy struck. What do you hear from Japan, and how are the people that you still have over there doing?
You know, I visited the affected area, the tsunami area, on August 11th, which is about half a year after the tsunami. And still so much devastation. They're still working on rebuilding. Even this, you know, you think that by now maybe a lot of trash has been removed. That's not the case. You know, that was such a big tragedy where 15,000 people passed away and still over 3,000 people are missing. And what it is it's really long process. It's not going to be ending in a year. It's going to be years to come, 10 years, 50 years, 100 years to come. And then finally we will be able to see that city back to where it was. But, you know, what that lesson learned is that, you know, as prepared that country was with earthquake and tsunami, there's nothing that you can fight against the Mother Nature. And for us in Augusta, what that means is that we really need to care about our neighbors and each other, because only things that we can do is that effort to care about somebody else. That really means more. And when somebody is suffering, that's when you need to step in and help. And that's what happened right after tsunami. And I'm very proud of that in this city.
You can't take a single moment for granted.
Right.
You have to appreciate everything. Well, that was well said, Maestro, and our hearts are with you and with your homeland for sure, and I thank you for taking the time to talk about that. I also thank you for taking the time to talk about all of the SOA happenings. It's an exciting time for sure.
Yes, and I think what it is you think about what's important, and for us, really show that what's important in our life, love, and what would be missing if that goes away. So that would be a great concert coming up.
You're going to be able to feel those emotions at Deceptive Reality, March 17th, 7:30. Get your tickets now. It's going to be at First Baptist Church of Augusta. You can call the Symphony box office at 706-826-4705, or just log on to soaugusta.org. I tell you what, it is going to be a wonderful night. It's going to be a night where, as I said, you can really feel what our musicians are playing, and they're going to convey that emotion to the audience at First Baptist that night. Maestro, thank you again.
Thank you for having me here.
Yes, sir. When we continue, Mercy Ministries, and some exciting times for them as well. They sure could use your help. We'll tell you how when the Means Report continues. Stay with us, everybody.